Hello, everybody. We have a new interview today. We are here with a legend of the 90s, Mr. Lane from La Bouche. Thank you very much for your time. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. You know, I love it. I love it, your music. It was fantastic, the 90s. Well, I'm 26. I born in 1994, but I love the 90s, the 80s. So thank you very much for your music.
You're welcome.
So I want to start talking about how did you get to Germany, and why did you decide to dedicate yourself to music?
Well, initially I wound up in Germany because I was in the U.S. Air Force and I was stationed there. And that is where I met Melanie in a cover band called Groove Affairs. And that's how everything began. And Melanie subsequently was working with Uli Brenner and Amir Saraf on some production work. And she asked me if I was interested in, teaming up with her. And I said, yeah, sure, of course. And then everything just kind of happened from there. Frank Farian got involved because Uli and Amir were renting studio space from his studio. Mm-hmm. He got involved. Of course, one thing led to another. Next thing you know, we're all over the world doing what we do.
Mm-hmm. And was something that you expect, or it was like a shock being a successful band, a successful project?
Yeah, you go into this hoping that it does well. For me, because I was in the Air Force, I was having to consider to give that up, after 15 years or try something that had no guarantee of being successful. But luckily, the way things worked out, Sweet Dreams became a hit. Mm-hmm. And I ended up getting out of the military and touring, full-time with La Bouche. And so it was a surprise because, not everyone has the opportunity to succeed on the first time out, Yeah. So for that, we were definitely grateful.
What was it like working with Frank Farian as a producer?
Well, as a new artist, it was very interesting because, I had never been in a studio, so this wasn't something that I had consciously been working towards. But he definitely knew what he was talking about. So I just tried to learn everything I could from him. And he's very meticulous when it comes to how he wanted things, sung and done. And certainly, I think coming off of the Milli Vanilli scandal, he wanted to do everything correct, and so we followed that template and everything was good.
Just considering that you work in the 90s music, what is your opinion about current music comparing to those times?
I think according to, the music that was certainly out like in the 90s, I think, we've all, music just kind of recycled itself, from one generation to the next. So I think the current dance music is borrowing a lot of the elements from the 90s and, popular music, kind of creating a new niche, if you will. We're like Dua Lipa, Calvin Harris, there's a few others out there that are very, dancey, nice lines and everything. So
The Weeknd, for example.
Yeah. So definitely proud, that we've been able to be a source of inspiration for new artists, in the current day.
Yeah, that's true. Tell us about your projects for the future.
Well, right now, I'm working several different projects. We're working on finishing up this new La Bouche record, which is going to feature a few different singers. There'll be some solo stuff on there for me. This is the anniversary of 25th anniversary of Be My Lover. So we're working on some different remixes, some reimagined versions of Be My Lover. So we've got, some things lined up for that. On the side of that, I've got my own project called McCray, You can check out the latest single that I have out there called Save My Life, which is doing pretty well right now on all digital platforms. And touring, and so I just went back to work last week for the first time since the pandemic.
Yeah, I know.
So my first show in Budapest, and then from Budapest, I went to Mexico for a gig, and now I'm here with my mom. Then I hit from here to Odessa, Ukraine for another show, and then really just making up a lot of the shows that had been canceled from the previous year, and then we will just resume making those up.
Why do you think that this kind of music is so popular in east of Europe, in like countries like Ukraine, Russia, those countries?
Well, over the years, music has been, like in the 50s, we had rock and roll. In the 40s, we had jazz. The 70s, we had disco. 80s, we had, big, rock music or what have you. And the 90s has kind of become a genre unto itself, So I think it just kind of came along at the right time, at the right place, and just, resonating with a lot of people. And it was a system that worked. So, and I think for me, like when I first got to Europe, I found it very fast, the dance music, because it wasn't so fast in the US, And when I started hearing people like, Jocelyn Brown, Martha Wash, Crystal Waters, Robin S., those kinds of vocals over these dance tracks, it really kind of like pulled me in. Yeah. And of course, Melanie's voice was very, right on time for that. So yeah, I think why, and it still sticks around. It's got a new audience now. A new generation has discovered it, as you know. And it's almost as if the music was new.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think that Melanie's death, marked a before and an after in La Bouche project?
Her death?
Yes, that accident that happened.
Yeah, I think, Melanie actually left the group before she died. To pursue a solo career. So, I was 100%, supporting, that idea for her to do. I think, and I'll be honest with you and tell you, it was really difficult, at first, because after she died, I kind of didn't work by choice for a couple of years, just trying to deal with the loss, as one could imagine. And when I started to go back to work, a lot of the fans were, some were supportive and some were like, this is not Melanie, and I'm like, okay, well, no, this is not Melanie. We're not trying to replace Melanie, but what we're trying to do is keep the music alive and keep the memory of her alive. And that's the only way that I knew how to do that. And so I think her, just like anyone that passes away that was, famous, is a tragedy, but, their music will live on forever.
Of course. Just the last one, a message for all the fans, around the world.
A message?
Yeah.
Well, La Bouche is here. La Bouche is here to stay. La Bouche has new music coming to you. And, as this pandemic, hopefully begins to wind down, we will be in a country near you really soon. So you can check our websites at McCray.com or officiallabouche.com to see the tour schedule. If you'd like to get some merchandise, a t-shirt, you can write to management at nanamusic@att.net. And just really thank everyone for their support over the years, because without them there would be no us, and we love them.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate, I really appreciate it. So thank you very much, my friend, okay?
You are welcome. Have a good one.